If a military plane loaded with biological weapons crashed into your town's water supply, what
try it
would
out.
you do? In this How to Beat video, we'll follow the town.
So we have a new character. Let's try it out.
ultimately attempt to beat the Trixie virus in The Crazies. If you think of a better way, let me know in the comments. If you like these How to Beat videos, consider liking and subscribing.
I want to see what it looks like in the cropped mode. I'm using this new cropped mode.
I just set up my merch store with the Nerd Explains logo, tees, and mugs, so everyone else can identify who to team up with if shit goes down. Us nerds gotta stick together. And before you say
New
it,
character and
also
everything.
come with a guarantee that I won't cannibalize you if the food runs out. That's what you call an exclusive perk. Besides the official logo merch, I made something custom. The Bloody Banana Split. If you don't get it, you haven't watched enough of my videos. I'm gonna be making more custom designs commemorating special Nerd Explains videos and jokes. Also, you can now flex on everyone else by becoming a channel member and getting custom evolving zombie badges next to your name in the comments. Thanks again for the support, guys, and the handful of gals out there as well. We start out following Sheriff David. The crowd's having a good time at the ball game until a deranged man stumbles onto the field with a Rossi Overland double-barrel shotgun. David tries to de-escalate the situation, but the man doesn't appear to be right in the head.
You lay that gun down. Rory?
That was a quick-ass draw. Let's take a step back and break that situation down. I'm not sure what the actual protocol is for police in this situation, but I'd imagine you'd already have your gun unholstered and or pre-aimed, or at the very least the holster button pre-popped for a quicker draw. My thinking is that you'd want to go wide and walking up to him, so you ended up on his side with no innocents behind you. Walking up to Rory like David did potentially put the entire crowd in the line of fire. I'd have the deputy get everyone out of there, like actually have everyone leave the area, then come up on Rory's other flank so they both have clear lines of fire with no nearby bystanders. We have to remember that this is a small town, so David knows Rory. He knows he's a drunk but also a decent person, so he gives them the benefit of the doubt and closes the distance to try to have a heart-to-heart. This is a risky play because closing the distance can help you de-escalate the situation and give you more of an opportunity to grab Rory's gun away from him, but it also means he can shoot you way more easily. In the movie, David walks straight up to Rory and still has a crowd of
What's the
innocents
best
behind
one?
him. Closing the distance in this case means that if Rory starts squeezing the triggers, he'd take the entire load of buckshot and his partner could kill Rory, but everyone behind him would be safe. Another tactical error, if you close the distance, you'd want to have your deputy on your flank also close the distance. You don't
Just see
want
the same
to
one.
close in him far, because then he's more likely to accidentally shoot you. Realistically, at that distance, Rory would not need to shoulder the gun or aim it. He already had it pointed at David's chest and could just pull the trigger. It's a tough situation when somebody already has a gun drawn on you. You either have to distract them or divert their weapon away from you before you go to draw your weapon, because they could easily kill you before you got your gun out of the holster. David was too far away to physically divert Rory's gun, so drawing on Rory was exceptionally dangerous, though he didn't really have a choice. This is why you'd want to already have your gun up before engaging. However, David did have some key advantages. He perceived that Rory was drunk or under the influence, which would slow his reaction times. He would also have noticed that Rory's Rossi Overland shotgun has hammers on both tubes that need to be cocked back before firing. These were not cocked back as far as I can tell. David's also using a standard issue Glock 19, which doesn't have a safety that needs to be flipped off, decreasing the time to fire. All of this combined with being the first to initiate the draw means that Rory is unlikely to be able to get the shot off before David. For a small town sheriff, this still takes a lot of skill to pull off under stress, especially when you know that Rory was a decent guy. They take Rory's body back to the medical examiner, who says that the toxicology report from his autopsy is going to take a week or so to be completed, which, like every other movie, is long enough that whatever was causing the problem will kill everyone before they figure it out. We really need to improve these toxicology report times. We never figure out what's going on until it's too late. Afterwards, the sheriff goes to console the grieving family, and it goes about how you'd expect.
You had to do it. I had to shoot the town drunk.
It's not like he had a shotgun pointed at my head or anything, but I guess you can't really expect a grieving wife whose husband you just blew away to think rationally. Everyone seems to think it was just Rory being drunk as usual, which is honestly the most reasonable assumption based on what they know. The next morning, David shows up to the sheriff's office and the phones are blowing up, which is odd for such a small town of 1,260 people. One of the phone calls is the medical examiner, who says that Rory was actually not drunk. In fact, he had a blood alcohol level of 0.0. Well, if he wasn't wasted, then what the hell
could
was
you
wrong
drag?
with him? David returns to the baseball field to try to make sense of it all. Ben, who was at the shooting,
Not too
is
bad.
the same, so David tries to talk to him.
Weapons.
Ben. 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 Hey, you alright? Don't worry, kids are resilient.
Hey, one weapon at
Yeah,
least.
this is a bit weird, but it's still reasonable and passable behavior for someone who also witnessed the shooting and probably has some PTSD. Meanwhile, David's wife, who is the town doctor, is examining another man who has some sort of sudden onset mental illness or brain impairment.
She worries too much. I'm fine. Just a little tired.
You got any plans this weekend?
She worries too much. I'm fine. Just a little tired.
What's worrying is that the cases of mental illness are sudden
I have
onset
read.
and occurring in multiple people who were otherwise normal not days ago. Again, this is a town of
We got full ray tracing on everything
It's not like
too,
he's
so
a
that's pretty
doctor in a
cool.
big city with tons of random people coming in. The problem is that until this information is gossiped around enough, everyone has a fractured view and no consensus can be made on the state of the situation. Nobody by themselves has enough information to act. But from a God's eye view, things are going south fast. Interestingly, whatever is happening is initially only happening to the men. Their wives and kids are not affected, and it doesn't seem to have spread to them. Deirdre takes her husband back to the doctor, and later that night, she notices that the combine in their shed is turned on. Maybe Bill's just going for a little late night farming. Yeah, no, you're f***ed. I hope I'm not the only one who is internally screaming at this lady to not stand in front of the active
Yeah, we're gonna do
combine
mail.
with her deranged husband on the loose. You're just asking for this to happen.
We're gonna do.
Combines can go about 5 miles per hour, which is like a jog.
Sophia and Alex,
Sure,
I
she
think.
can get out of the way if it comes at her, but what if she trips? I mean, why risk it? And she walks up closer to it. Lady, please, keep your hands and feet away from the spinning blades. If you would kindly walk along the perimeter of the shed to the side of the combine, you will have access to the cabin where you can discuss your issues with the operator. You just got played by your psycho husband who's now attempting to murder your child. Nice. Honestly, you're lucky he was not in the combine, or what's left of your corpse would be sitting in the grain tank right now, and your child would be hopeless. Personally, I think she should have brought her son with her to the shed. Hear me out because I know it seems counterintuitive. Your significant other is exhibiting severe mental derangement all of a sudden. You take them to the doctor, then that night you hear the combine spinning up in the shed. You're obviously scared enough to not want to bring your kid into a
How do you, like, fix that
potentially
whitewash shit?
situation, which is
I
why
wonder.
you should. If you go to the shed by yourself and something happens to you, your kid will not know what happened, and he might come to the shed to find out and get killed, or get killed by the husband later on. If you bring him but keep him back a bit, he will be able to see what's going on, and you can keep an eye on him, but he won't be in danger as long as you don't hold his hand while you flail in front of the active combine blades like an idiot. Leaving the kid back at the house by himself when you cannot 100% know where your deranged husband is a bad play. Not to mention how nuts it is to have been
Whatever.
planning on going to sleep in the same bed and house as him when you clearly are this afraid and nervous about his mental state and your safety. If my girlfriend suddenly started staring at the wall all day, unaware of anything going on around her, and repeated the same phrases over and over again, I will definitely not be going to sleep in the same bed or house as her, and my dog will be staying with me elsewhere. I mean, yeah, I'd take her to the hospital and stuff too. You get what I'm saying. By now, you've no doubt
John.
heard about the shooting of Rory, a man who suddenly went full psycho. That shit's gonna be in the back of your head. You're gonna be thinking that maybe the same thing is happening to your husband. She gets back to the house and finds her son.
That's pretty
He
cool, I
takes
guess.
her into a closet where he tells her that the dad was coming after him with a knife. I want to take a second to point out that hiding in a closet is really not a good idea. You have nowhere to run, and it's such an obvious hiding spot. I remember playing hide and go seek when I was a kid, and literally the first place you check check is the closets. You gotta get creative. I heard about an incident where law enforcement raided a guy's house and they ended up finding him inside of a bed mattress. Yeah, I mean, they found him, but they were US Marshals, not some psycho. I don't think hiding inside of a mattress is a feasible or good decision either, though. Like the closet, you have no escape, and if Bill decides to sleep on that bed, good luck holding your breath all night. She could try to ambush him and whack him
Okay,
upside
let's
the
just
head with a
copy this
flower
thing then.
vase.
I'll just copy this
He's got a
bitch.
knife.
I thought it was
Knock
Alex too.
him
Yeah, I
out.
thought it was Alex.
You're probably dead.
So we're gonna copy.
Grabbed a lamp pole, smashed
We're gonna
it
copy this things.
and then aimed for the bushes. I've seen some parkour videos. You just gotta roll when you hit the ground. Bill comes up the stairs and surprise, surprise, he found them in their super secret hiding spot.
Okay.
Damn, that got me.
Mm-hmm. What the fuck is going on? Oh.
Wait, what's that smell? Yeah, I have some problems with this too. Closet doors shouldn't be that hard to kick open because interior house doors are usually hollow and weak, and in their case, the doors open away from them. You could argue that they were just trying to keep a barrier between them and him, but I'd think the strong smell of gas would light a fire under your ass to leave the closet. Unfortunately, Deirdre doesn't seem to understand the concept of kicking the door down and instead jiggles the doorknob like it's just gonna magically open. I can't stand when people do that. Just standing there jiggling the doorknob when it's locked. Like, come on, start ferociously kicking the door down by shoving your heel into it. It's your only chance. And for those curious, you want to shove your heel into the spot just next to the doorknob. Sheriff David shows up to the crime scene with his wife. Does he normally bring her on calls? Because that seems super dangerous and unprofessional. The last thing you need is a highly emotional person coming onto the crime scene and freaking out. Okay, by now David has to know something is up. That is 3 encounters with deranged people who were all normal not days ago, all now exhibiting murderous tendencies. It's like The Happening, except everyone wants to kill each other instead of themselves. Unfortunately, that toxicology report is still 4 or 5 days away. Good luck getting Bill to do a CT scan or getting any information out of him. Meanwhile, some hunters down in the marsh find a parachute stuck in the trees. Maybe there's a supply crate with something cool in it. Nope. Seems like it'd be hard to get any work done with a guy who just murdered his wife and child, staring you down like that for every second of the day, unmoving for hours. I have trouble concentrating when my dog is looking at me for pets. From what we can tell, it's not transmitting via bite. Doesn't seem to be airborne or contact-based either, or the families would have gotten it too. But there's not enough info to really understand what's going on. They get a call from the hunters about the downed pilot and go investigate it. The corpse is unrecognizable, but the uniform and insignia is military. The medical examiner thinks this bro's been hanging out in the marsh for about a week or so. Based on the reports of something crashing into the marsh about a week or so ago too, there may be a downed plane somewhere nearby. It seems like the chances of them finding
Natural's
that plane
mine.
within the same day is really unlikely, but as you'll see later, David is one lucky man. It looks like a C-130 military cargo plane or something similar. Definitely military. Initially, you'd want to send some divers in to see what's what, but because there's a high likelihood that this is connected with the town's events, there may be something toxic in the water. The only safe way to investigate the wreckage is with the hazmat dive team, which Ogden Marsh definitely does not have on staff. A cheap alternative would be to take water samples and pictures of the dead pilot, his credentials, as well as the plane. They go to the town water person, and he confirms their suspicions. The same water that the plane is residing in flows into their town's drinking water supply. Not only that, but the water reaches Rory's house first. Rory wasn't drunk on booze. He was drunk on a top secret biological weapon. Apparently, whatever was in that plane survived the entire water treatment process process and made it into people's homes where it infected them. This revelation carries two massive problems. The first problem is that this was caused by the military and government, and this plane crashed a week ago, but there's no soldiers or men in black to be seen. You would think they'd be out here within a day of the initial crash to recover their plane, which was carrying God knows what. The fact that they aren't suggests that they're either grossly incompetent or more
My hair is
likely
basically
they knew
light
that
brown.
something really bad was set loose, and recovering the plane is the last of their worries. If I had to guess, right now they're probably setting up a wide quarantine zone around the entire town. If this situation is as severe as these raging clues would suggest, anyone that drank the water in the past week is already infected unless they're somehow immune. Being a small town that's forgettable, the military and government can still retain plausible deniability to cover up the incident, saying that a chemical plant exploded or something. You should expect roads to be blocked and the internet and cell service to be blacked out. It might seem hasty and rash, but fleeing is the only option you might have at this point. Being a government blackout, they have records of everyone in the town and may make you disappear if you try to escape and talk. Hopefully, David had the brains to take pictures and samples, which he could use as leverage or a dead man's switch to preserve his safety. The second massive problem is that this plane was downed for a week and has been flowing something toxic into this town the whole time. Water in the distribution network might have hit Rory first, but it's been a full day since that incident and a week since the plane crashed. Literally everyone in the town would have been drinking that water by now. It is infected if they can be infected. Even David and his deputy, who is sipping fresh weaponized pathogens every morning, are on borrowed time unless they're somehow immune. Doesn't hurt to break out the bottled water instead though. David heads out to the classic overindulged mayor to convince him to turn off the water supply. I think it's pointless by now, but it wouldn't hurt. He gets pushback because the lack of water would kill the crops and the entire farm town would go bankrupt. There's really no use arguing with the guy that won't put some clothes on to discuss something important like this. I was just gonna say they should break in and shut it off anyways. Any toxicology report or hard evidence would take too much valuable time to put together and present, and the stubborn mayor would just shut it down anyways. Deputy Russell locks up the lever and notices that Bill is not standing anymore. I mean, no shit. Who's just gonna stand there the whole time? Even infected psychos gotta lay down once in a while. It's a good thing David stopped
Bro, this
him from
character-
going in, but
bro.
could he have just told him to wait up?
My other guy
There
was
no
way better
indication
looking, bro.
of the guy.
Let's go switch to that character. We're gonna do a new character.
I don't know what Russ was thinking. Who would have been idiotic enough to go into a cell by themselves to check out a guy who's infected with the same kind of military pathogen, which has potentially led to Rory trying to murder David, as well as Bill murdering his wife and kid. Besides the fact that Bill might try to murder you, your lack of PPE might expose you to the pathogen if you aren't already. They correctly assess that they are not equipped to deal with this man and check his transfer status. Lo and behold, the internet and cell service are out. Wonder who that could be. It's quiet down at Ogden Marsh's main street. Too quiet. A VPN won't help you in a blackout caused by the military quarantining a bioweapon accident. But until that day comes, you should consider equipping your cyber self with Surfshark. Let me get existential and ask you this. How much time do you spend on the internet? Probably
We're
more
gonna
than
play a new
reason to
character, or
interact
I'm gonna
with
do
other
got my own
people.
character.
If you think about it, your cyber you is more you than your physical body is. In the physical world, you lock your doors, possess weapons, and check behind the shower curtain when using the toilet. But most people surf the web with their cyber spirit completely exposed. Surfshark's got a full array of digital defenses to enhance your abilities and thwart attackers. With Surfshark, you'll possess an all-in-one solution to eliminate ads, malware trackers, phishing attempts, censorship, internet borders, content restrictions, account theft, and so much more. All these defenses can be armed on an unlimited number of devices, so your phone, laptop, desktop, tablet, and phablet are all covered. What's this digital defense package cost? Like $2 a month if you use my promo code NerdExplains for 84% off and 4 extra months for free. But Nerd Explains, what about free options? If you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. It It's pretty self-defeating for a free VPN to be tracking and selling your information. The best case scenario for a free VPN is they trash your internet speed and experience to get you to upgrade to their paid plan. So just sign up for Surfshark with my code and defend your digital you. What do you do now? A military plane carrying a deadly pathogen crashed into the drinking water that everyone's been gulping down for a week. There's no cell reception, indicating a quarantine and suppression of everyone in the town, and now the entire town is dead-ass silent. You're now on a tight timeline. The infection is clearly past the incubation period, and everyone should be considered potentially hostile. With the possibility of the government silencing and denying this catastrophe, the military cannot be trusted.
Hump day.
Cell reception is down.
You are trapped by a meaningless duty that was never yours.
So there's no good way to create a dead man switch with your evidence. Your best bet is to get the water samples, pictures, and credentials from the downed pilot. Then go home, grab your wife, and start walking to the nearest city, which should only be a few hours away. I say walking because every road's gonna be blocked by the military. You're gonna have to avoid these unmarked vans too. I know you're a cop and you wanna start saving everyone, but it's too late. Sure, there could be survivors that are immune, but it's highly unlikely. There is a much higher chance that you will get murdered by a psycho. Or not. Again, investigating every sound and abnormality is unwise. Your focus should be solely on escaping with your wife and your life. If someone is clearly in need of help, then yeah, go help. But wandering in stores and chasing weird noises is a surefire way to get dead. This place is a hellhole waiting to erupt. David heads into the funeral home and quickly discovers this. It's almost as if everyone drank the water, is infected, and is turned into a psycho, like you hypothesized. Dude, get up or roll over sideways, god damn. You would have had serious problems if Russ didn't show up at that exact second, which realistically, he would not have. And on that note, why were you out there by yourself with no backup, with everyone turning into a version of Bill and Rory? David finally realizes that this place cannot be saved, and it's gonna degenerate hard and fast, and goes home to warn his wife. But she stubbornly refuses to just leave because, and I quote, she's their doctor. What part of everyone's an infected, murdering psycho now that you didn't get? You have no idea what the issue is, how it's affecting them, and these people are not treatable, as evidenced by me almost getting neutered by a bone saw. You can't do shit. This problem is way worse than a small town doctor can handle. I swear, some of these people are so stubborn that
Everything's
you can
up.
tell them that you found a nuclear device with a 30-minute countdown, and they tell you that they need to stay to treat the wounded. David apparently learned nothing from his funeral home encounter and heads out by himself to check out their shed because his wife saw someone. Yeah, it's probably a murdering psycho like I was just telling you about. Do you want to go give them a health exam now, sweetheart? No? Then let's go get in the car and leave. David goes to check it out by himself.
I really don't think there's anything I want to salvage. I could probably just... Yeah, but I'm just gonna drop these.
The fuck is that?
What would I guess I could drop those and take 40 heavy ammo. Probably gonna be very encumbered though. No? Okay.
Oh.
Alright, I think...
I was like, what the fuck?
Also leaving his wife in the home by
I was like, what the fuck is that?
Where the fuck is Russ anyways? You'd think sticking together and getting some firepower would be smart. Honestly, that was probably the best outcome. They get taken to the FEMA quarantine camps and separated into infected versus uninfected based on elevated temperatures. His wife seems to think it's cerebral hemorrhaging from a virus, but only transferred through bodily fluids. Looks like Judy drank too much of the water.